Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today I have a special guest with me. This is my younger sister, Julia. And would you like to introduce yourself to
Sure.
lovely subscribers?
So I'm 3 years younger than Becca. I just finished college at University of Vermont. I am now a master's student studying public health, and I work a lot.
And you occasionally like to read?
When I get time, and I do like to read, especially nonfiction,
Yeah.
especially infectious disease stuff, which you'll see.
Julia and I both grew up reading a lot when we were younger, and I still read a fair amount. You don't read quite as much as I do, but you do appreciate a good book.
Lack of time, mostly.
Yeah. And our town recently had their library book sale, and since we both picked up books, and she's here in the same house with me currently, I figured she could make her YouTube debut and share some of the books that she bought at the book sale while I share mine. So I got 4 books and she got 5, and the first book that I got was Rainbow Rowell's Attachments. This is one that many of you will find familiar. I have read Fangirl and Landline by Rainbow Rowell, and I enjoyed them. I had a lot of feelings on Fangirl. I made a whole video about it, but this one, I think it was one of her first ones, if not her first book, and it follows 2 women who work at this office, and they exchange all of these emails, and there's this guy who was hired to monitor the emails, and he's supposed to report anybody that is sort of using the work email carelessly, but he decides not to tattle on these women because he just loves following their lives through these emails. This is very much like a chick lit fun read as far as I understand. I have heard mixed reviews on it, but when a book is $1, you get it. You just get it.
So I got Vaccine. It's the controversial story of medicine's greatest lifesaver by Arthur Allen. And it actually talks about the very start of the Iraq War, how George W. Bush, president at the time, got vaccinated for smallpox to show that the troops had to prepare for biological warfare. So it's pretty cool. It just talks about the history and controversy.
Of vaccines in general?
Of vaccines in general, yeah. But mostly focusing on biological warfare and smallpox, because smallpox had been used prior in biological warfare.
Mm-hmm. So. You never know what the selection is going to be at certain book sales. So I got Untapped, The Scramble for Africa's Oil. It's by John Gazvinian. And this author traveled to a bunch of different countries in Africa and interviewed people from all walks of life. It says here that he interviewed industry executives, bandits, activists, priests, missionaries, oil rig workers, all about the effect that oil is having on their lives and their community, whether for better or for worse. This was published in 2007, so 10 years ago now. It's possible that some of this information is inaccurate, but I have a feeling there will be a lot of stuff in here that is still relevant, and I'll probably learn a fair amount about Africa's history with colonialism and all of that not so great stuff.
And my next book is The Great Influenza, so it's tracking the 1918 influenza outbreak.
I believe I found that one for you.
You did find it. She did find it.
I do feel like at book sales, I'm sometimes better at finding books for other people than I am at finding books for myself.
Yeah. I would agree with that. So it's by John M. Barry, and it's just about the influenza outbreak, and it killed over 100 million people, which is the second deadliest plague since the Black Plague, Yersinia pestis, way back in 1364. Exciting. Infectious diseases.
The third book I picked up is Broken Monsters by Lauren Bukes. Her name is semi-familiar to me. I know she has another book called The Shining Girls because it's referenced on here and I've seen it around. And it's kind of dark and twisted. This detective has this body that's half boy, half deer. And so some person is killing people and animals and fusing them together. And so it's going to be messed up. Probably not a book that I'll want to read at home by myself. I'm sure some of you have read it, so feel free to let me know what you thought about it down below and how just creepy and weird it gets. There is also a cast of a few other characters, like this girl who begins talking to a potential pedophile online. There's this guy who's trying to watch out for the homeless population because there is this psycho going around killing people. So I have a feeling it will be very dark, very twisted, but fun at the same time.
Okay, my next one was an exciting find. So, Catch-22, the classic by Joseph Heller. This is I think 50th, right? Yeah, 50th anniversary edition, which is really nice. It's really nice.
If you hadn't gotten that, I would have gotten that.
And I actually never read this. Did you read it in school?
Yeah, I read it in school when I was a junior in high school, but you never had to read it.
I did not, and so I'm excited to read this, especially because it's a cool edition, and it's the only fiction book I got, so...
True.
Yeah. I'll let you guys know what I think.
Classics. The last book that I picked up at the sale was Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil by John Berendt. I'd seen this book around on BookTube recently, and it sounded like something that was kind of different from anything that I've really read. It takes place in Savannah, so Deep South. I don't really read many books about the Deep South, and there is a shooting in this grand mansion. People aren't sure if it was a murder or if it was self-defense, and it's about the lives of these people and the aftermath of that in Savannah, you know, old society, rich people. I'm sure it'll be very interesting. I really like this cover. It's like an old graveyard, and you got all the moss on the trees. It's a very atmospheric, so hopefully I'll enjoy it.
My last infectious disease book, The Coming Plague. It's thick, and it's by... Laurie Garrett, Newly Emerging Diseases in a World Out of Balance. It was published in 1994, so a while ago now, 23 years ago. And so, but it's really interesting because it talks about some of the outbreaks that we've had since this was published. So it's talking about a potential emergence of Ebola and HIV and SARS and MERS and stuff like that. So
I mean, to be fair, HIV was already an issue before 1994.
That's true, but it's grown. But it's especially Ebola. I mean, they didn't talk about Zika because that came out of left field. So that's pretty cool that she kind of predicted that in a way.
Yeah, and you can kind of look back and see, like, okay, here's what she thought might happen, here's what she said about it, and then versus what actually happened.
Yeah.
So as somebody who's, like, you know, interested in studying that field, I feel like that's cool.
Yeah. So I'm excited. So the last one I got is Perfect Spy by Larry Berman. And it's about a Time reporter during the Vietnam War who was passing information. He was a spy, and he was passing information to both the North and South Vietnam armies. So I was just particularly interested in this one because I've read books about Vietnam, like A Rumor of War for school, and I never really have read anything related to people being spies. And just,
or the perspective of the Vietnamese people.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the books that we have available to us are from the U.S. Army or one of the branches of, you know, the U.S. military. So this will be a different perspective. Yeah. To be fair, it is written by an American, it looks like. But it is about a guy who...
Yeah, he's known as a American biographer, so it should be.
Yeah, and the guy that he wrote about chose, you know, he wanted this gentleman to write about him, and I would pronounce the name, but I feel like I would offend a lot of people, so this is the, let's get the shiny there, so that's the name of the gentleman that they focus on.
It's going to be an interesting read. I'm
excited.
It
said in there that he was doing it for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty dangerous thing to be doing for 20 years.
Yeah, so, and the fact that he was a Time reporter is also pretty interesting. That's the haul.
Yeah, that's the haul. So those are all the books that we acquired at our local book sale. If you have any comments about any of the books that we talked about, or maybe you have one that you would like one of us to read first, feel free to let us know down below. Hopefully you had fun in your YouTube debut.
Woohoo! Yeah, I hope I didn't annoy anybody.
As always, all of our links are in the doobly-doo. You can check those out if you feel so inclined. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll see you later. Bye! Do something different with your books, you can.
Vogue. I'm not creative. Oh god, I'm going that way.
Okay, we'll just stick with the first one. This book was published in 2017. I'm not going over my shit. But I feel like the history of Africa as a continent and these different countries will still be, you know, relevant and make sense. And any of the, I don't know what I was gonna say.
I don't know where you're going with that.
I don't know either.
We both like history. We both like we're kind of war buffs a little bit. You especially, you, okay, should I just, I'll stop. I'll stop. I'll stop.
As always, all of our links are in the doobly-doo. Check those out if you feel so inclined.
The hootie?
Thank you.
The hootie?